Good morning. As you can see, I'm almost happy today. I think that Liz Truss, first of all, has appointed an excellent cabinet and ministers and secretaries, a great group of advisors around her, the most diverse group ever, giving minority groups a chance to be represented at the most highest levels. And she herself has stepped out of the rather boring onesie she's worn forever and pulled the zip, stepped out, and kind of emerged as Superwoman with a 150 to 170 billion pound plan to take the serious pressure off us, uh, take the foot of President Putin off our heads and the energy crisis and the cost of living crisis, by capping the price cap for consumers. So the £3,500 we were going to pay in home energy bills this year, rising, some said, to £6,000 in April, will become instead £2,500. We'll have the details later today in her announcement. And, to say that this is unexpected, welcome, and laudable is a gross understatement. So we'll hear the specifics. It's supposed to be this afternoon, announced by her and or by Jacob Rees-Mogg, her new Secretary of State for Business, including energy. He's probably, at the moment, got the most important job in the country. Um, but I'd like to talk about electricity because two-thirds of our home energy bills, whether it's £3,500 a year or £2,500 a year. And by the way, isn't it interesting that everybody's excited about the £2,500 a year? 2 weeks ago, if you told people that, they would go, "My God, what's going on? Are these people crazy, etc." It's amazing. If you tell people they're going to be looking at 6,000, and then you tell them it's only 200 quid a month, they all go, "Oh, thank God! It's wonderful." We're very strange, this human race. So electricity is two-thirds of our home bills. And 60% of that electricity, it's a little bit complicated. The electricity price is tied to the price of gas. Under a convention that was developed, I suppose, back in the 80s when everything was privatized. And it's been that way ever since. When there wasn't a lot of difference between the international market price of gas and our own, if you will, price of gas, our cost of producing it and such, it didn't make a lot of difference. But now the price has increased tenfold, a huge amount, and it's heading skyward and will keep doing so if President Putin has his way. So the point is that only 20% of our electricity comes from gas. And yet it's all 100% of it priced off the international expensive higher market price for gas. So 60% of our electricity comes from cheaper alternative, nuclear and renewable, solar, wind, etc. Another 20% we produce ourselves. North Sea gas, which now Jacob Rees-Mogg wants to squeeze every drop out of, he says. So 80% of our electricity, 80% of that two-thirds bill, does not have anything to do with gas, and yet it's priced off the international market price. Our 20% that we produce here, we even give to the international market and then buy it back at their inflated price. So for a very long time, there's been discussion about uncoupling this. John Penrose, the MP who actually was the architect of, invented the price cap, which he says is no longer fit for purpose, it's useless. He wants the government, and has been saying this for ages, to decouple the electricity from gas immediately. Even Boris, back in June, said the government has to do this straight away, but it goes on and on. And there is nothing in what Liz has said so far, and I seriously doubt that in today's announcement of all these wonderful things there will be any mention at all of a decoupling of our electricity prices from gas. Now, if there were such a decoupling, based on the figures of 3,500 pounds a year is the last estimate, 1,500 pounds of that is being unnecessarily paid to the giant energy companies. 1,500 pounds of that per household, 29 million British households, that's 45 billion pounds a year. So Liz's 170 billion pound program is over 18 months. 45 billion a year over 18 months is 67.5 billion. 67.5 billion of that 170 billion need not be spent. We don't need to be buying this really expensive electricity. Especially, from a huge portion where we produce the gas ourselves. A lot of the electricity is cheap. So I do hope that somebody will do something about that. Jacob Rees-Mogg is, I find, a brilliant man and a politician with a lot of integrity, and he ought to be able to unpick all of this very quickly. Research by the newly established UK electricitywatch.org confirms these figures and produces the figures that I'm quoting to you here. I'm quoting you from them. And that it's not costing the suppliers anything near the price that's being paid. You can't expect electricity and energy companies to turn away money. They're in business after all, and they have their shareholders to think about. But the government should have done and must do something about this right away. Thank you very much.